Opening our list at number 12, we have Mark Filippi. Mark started competing in strongman in 1997, winning the inaugural America's Strongest Man competition. This qualified him for his first World's Strongest Man. In this World's Strongest Man, he made the final, finishing in 7th place. He would appear at World's Strongest Man further 6 times, but never topping his 7th place finish. The heavier Arnold Strongman Classic competition suited him much better. In the 3 years he competed here, he finished in 4th place. He also appeared at the prestigious Muscle Power Championship 3 times, finishing 2nd twice and once 3rd. Next up on the list is Dave Asland. During his career, Dave was a regular at the World's Strongest Man, first time appearing here in 2005. Out of his 7 appearances, he made the final in 5 of them. His best finish came in 2008 when he stepped on the podium behind Mariusz Pudzianowski and fellow American Derek Poundstone. At the 2007 Venice Beach Grand Prix, he put his name among the elite few who managed to beat Mariusz during his prime, beating him, taking the competition win. Dave also appeared at the Arnold Strongman Classic twice, taking 6th place in 2010. However, he never won the American title, because most of the Americans he competed against will appear later on this list. At number 10, we have Trey Mitchell. The young Texan has been constantly improving over the years. Trey won the official Strongman Games in 2017. He finished 2nd at the Giants Live North American Open in 2018, and he also won the America's Strongest Man title the same year. He made waves in the sport when he eliminated Oleksiy Novikov at the 2019 World's Strongest Man in the Stone-Off and made the final. In 2020, he didn't make the final as he was in a group with Tom and Oleksiy, who went and finished 1st and 2nd in the final. He took part in the inaugural Show Classic, taking 4th place. In 2021, he finished 4th at the World's Strongest Man and topped his performance with a win at the 2021 Show Classic. He finished the 2021 season with a podium placing at the Arnold UK. Trey has the potential to become one of the best strongmen ever. At number 9, we have the Iron Outlaw Jerry Pritchett. Jerry has already been competing at the top level for over a decade. In this time, he appeared at the World's Strongest Man 6 times, making the final in half of these. His best finish came in 2020 when he finished just off the podium in 4th place. Jerry was more active at the Arnold circuit, which is better suited for his static strength. This got him invited to the Arnold Strongman Classic 8 times, with his best finish being 3rd from 2017. This was the year when he also won the America's Strongest Man. Over the past few years, Jerry has proven that he can still compete with the absolute best even in his 40s. Hopefully, he can stay injury-free and perform to his highest level in 2022. Mike Burke came into the sport of strongman very late, only in his late 30s. He was training with Brian Shaw. That explains why he got so good so quickly. At the beginning of 2012, he won the All-American Strongman Challenge, which got him invited to the Arnold Strongman Classic. In his 4 appearances at the Arnold Strongman Classic, he never finished lower than 5th, with the best finish being 3rd in 2014. Mike had similar results at the World's Strongest Man, finishing 4th in 2014 and 5th twice in 2013 and 15. Among his other achievements is winning the America's Strongest Man in 2012, the Giants Live Hungary in 2013, and the Strongman Champions League North American Championships in 2013. Despite his age and rather short career, he was able to rival some of the best strongmen we have ever seen in their primes. At number 7, we have the Texas Stoneman Travis Ortmeyer. Travis won his pro card in the year 2004. In the 3 years following after this, he appeared at the IFSA Worlds twice, and also at the Arnolds. However, he didn't place higher than 10th in these competitions. His first big victory came in 2008 at the Madison Square Garden Grand Prix, where he dominated in a stacked field of athletes, including other Americans like Poundstone, Asland, Shaw, Nee, and Filippi. This form lasted him for the rest of the year, and he finished 5th in Fortissimus and the world's strongest man. The 2009 season was probably his best, as he finished 4th at the Fortissimus, 3rd at Arnold's, and 5th at the Worlds. He would continue placing high, repeating his 3rd place at Arnold's and 5th at Worlds once again, as well as winning multiple Strongman Champions League and Giants live shows. However, many injuries and a looming drug addiction caught up to him. He stopped competing in 2012. 6 years later, he returned to the Strongman Champions League circuit, winning 2 of their shows. In 2021, he made it to the World's Strongest Man once again, but was unable to make the final. At number 6, we have the incredible Mike Jenkins. Mike burst onto the scene, winning the inaugural Arnold Amateur and placing 2nd in Americas the same year. The Arnold Amateur win qualified him for the 2011 Arnold Strongman Classic. He placed 2nd here behind Brian Shaw, beating Savickas and Ortmeyer. Mike first appeared at the World's Strongest Man in 2011. After 3 events, he was 1 point behind the leader Brian Shaw. However, during the deadlift, he injured his back and was forced to withdraw from the competition. Even with only doing 4 events out of 6, he finished in 8th place. He came into 2012 even stronger, winning the Arnold Strongman Classic, beating Poundstone, Savickas, Shaw, and Burke. He dominated the Arnold Australia and was going into World's Strongest Man as one of the favorites, but he only finished in 5th place. The last time Mike competed at the World's Strongest Man was in 2013, and he finished 1 point off the podium in 4th place. As they say, the brightest stars burn the fastest, and sadly, this was the case for Mike as well. He passed away in late 2013 at the age of only 31. Despite his early death, Mike is one of the best to ever do it. The number 5 on this list needs no introduction. Martins had an astronomical rise in the sport. In his first international competition, he finished 3rd. Couple of months later, he already finished 2nd at the America's Strongest Man. In July of 2016, he competed in Canada and finished 2nd only to JF Caron. A month later, he competed for the first time at World's Strongest Man, finishing 6th in the final. In 2017, he improved his finish at World's Strongest Man to 4th. He won the 2017 Summer Mania and he competed at the Arnolds. The following year, Martins once again finished 4th at World's Strongest Man. He repeated his win at Summer Mania and he won the Arnolds Europe. 2019 was his best year so far. He won the Arnold Santa Monica, he placed 2nd at the Arnold Classic, and he won the World's Strongest Man. In 2020, he repeated his win at the Santa Monica Arnold, and he placed 3rd at the Arnold Classic. He was plagued with injuries for the rest of the year and good part of 2021. Martins returned at the end of the year, winning the inaugural Rogue Invitational. Coming into 2022, he is one of the top favorites for the Arnold Strongman Classic, as well as the World's Strongest Man. Just below the top 3, we have Phil Pfister. Phil appeared at the World's Strongest Man for the first time in 1998 on an 11-day notice after training for strongman just for a couple of months. He replaced Flemming Rasmussen in the final and finished 4th. He returned in the year 2000, eliminated Big Z in the heats, and finished 5th in the final behind 4 World's Strongest Man winners. In the heats at the 2001 World's Strongest Man, Phil, during the Hercules hold, proclaimed he will win the World's Strongest Man one day. He once again finished just off the podium in 4th place. In 2002, he competed at the Arnolds, finishing in third place. The following year, he finished sixth at the Arnolds, but he didn't manage to make it through to the final at World's Strongest Man. In 2005, Phil won the IFSA Pan American Championship, which qualified him for the IFSA Worlds, where he finished in sixth place. 2006 was his best season, and he finally fulfilled his promise given 6 years prior and won the 2006 World's Strongest Man, beating the dominator Mariusz Pudzianowski. He returned to the World's Strongest Man and the Arnold Strongman Classic as the reigning world champion, but he only finished fourth. In 2008, he missed out on the World's Strongest Man podium once again and finished seventh at the Arnold Strongman Classic. The 2009 season was his last full season. He finished fifth at the Arnold Strongman Classic, sixth at Fortissimus, and seventh at the World's Strongest Man. The 2010 Arnold Strongman Classic was his last big competition. He finished in seventh place. The 6'6" American retired as one of the best America has ever produced. Before we crack the top 3, I have to mention some names. The first one is Bruce Wilhelm. Bruce won the World's Strongest Man twice. The first year it was held in 77 and the year after. Strongman was in its infancy back then, so I can't value these wins as high. But as the first time winner, he has to be mentioned on this list. The second honorable mention is none other than O.D. Wilson. O.D. competed at the World's Strongest Man only twice. It is widely believed O.D. was robbed of the World's Strongest Man title in 1990 when he finished second by just half a point. The following year, he finished fifth even though he was injured. Sadly, shortly after the 1991 World's Strongest Man, O.D. passed away from a cardiac arrest. O.D. was too strong for the more endurance and speed-focused events of the era. To this day, he is regarded as one of the strongest to never win the title, and Bill Kazmaier regards him as one of the greatest ever. The third honorable mention is Mark Henry. Even though he only competed in one strongman competition, this competition was the inaugural Arnold Strongman Classic in 2002. Mark dominated the event, beating Sven Karlsson, Phil Pfister, and Mark Filippi. If he continued his career in strongman, he could have been one of the greatest of all time. At number 3, we have Derek Poundstone. Very few strongmen can compare themselves to Derek. He was right off the bat at an elite level, and at one of his first shows he finished second, only to Zydrunas. In 2007, he won his national title and competed at IFSA Worlds where he took fourth place. In 2008, he won the Mohegan Sun Grand Prix, beating Mariusz. He also finished second at the Arnolds to Zydrunas, but beat him at the 2008 Fortissimus, winning the competition. At the 2008 World's Strongest Man, Derek lost to Mariusz after a very close Atlas Stone run where he slipped and finished second. At the beginning of 2009, he won the Arnold Strongman Classic and repeated his win at the Mohegan Sun. Once again, he had a battle with Zydrunas at Fortissimus. This time, however, Z came out victorious. Derek reclaimed his title of the America's Strongest Man and was coming into World's Strongest Man among the favorites. He finished in fourth place behind Saviskas, Pudzianowski, and Shaw. He came into 2010 once again stronger than ever, winning the Arnold Strongman Classic for the second time and repeating his Mohegan Sun victory. Shortly before the World's Strongest Man, Derek tore his quadriceps muscle. Despite this, he still competed and finished in ninth place. He also won the America's Strongest Man just few days later. He returned to the World's Strongest Man final the following year, but the title eluded him once again as he finished in fifth. At the 2012 Arnold Strongman Classic, he finished second by just 1 point to Mike Jenkins. The last competition he won was the 2013 Giants Live Melbourne. He stopped competing shortly after this. In 2017, he tried to come back, but after tearing his biceps at the 2017 Summer Mania, he officially retired. Nowadays, Derek is coaching another great American strongman, Rob Kearney. My heart told me to put this man as number one, but after a long argument with my brain, I settled on second place. At number two, we have the one and only Bill Kazmaier. Kaz got invited to his first World's Strongest Man in 1979 as the American powerlifting champion from the previous year. He already managed to finish third. The same year, he also won the IPF Worlds. He came into 1980 even stronger, dominating the competition, winning with a 28.5 point lead. He repeated his win in 1981. His dominance is best illustrated with his silver dollar deadlift performance. During the event, other competitors were complaining about his lockouts, so he did the winning lift of 940 pounds for 2 easy repetitions, proving his strength was unmatched. Bill once again dominated the competition in 82, winning with a 13-point lead. He wasn't invited for the 83 competition. According to Bill himself, it was because he was too dominant. Instead of World's Strongest Man, he competed at the 83 IPF Worlds, easily winning the competition. During the mid-80s, Kaz wasn't focusing only on strongmen but competed in wrestling and Highland Games. In 1987, he competed against the other two World's Strongest Man champions from the era, Sigmarsson and Capes, in pure strength. He got beaten by Sigmarsson. However, he dominated the 87 Defi Mark 10 International in Canada, beating Sigmarsson decisively. He beat him in the 1988 Muscle Power Championship as well. After 6 years of not getting invited to World's Strongest Man, he finally returned in 1988 and took second place. Bill's last appearance at the World's Strongest Man was in 1989 when he took fourth place. In 1990, he competed in the Icelandic Reisti competition, beating Odie Wilson, Magnus Vermagnusson, and Jamie Reeves, winning the competition. Later that year, Bill retired from strongman. Kaz was so strong during his prime that even today, 40 years later, he could statically rival most elite strongmen. There is a good argument to be had that Bill might as well be the greatest of all time. You already know who the number one is. Brian played basketball in college and used gym training as a way to improve at basketball. He enjoyed lifting weights, and when watching The World's Strongest Man, he realized that he was taller and bigger than the World's Strongest Man winner Jani Virtanen. Brian entered his first strongman competition at the end of 2005, winning the Denver Strongest Man without any specific training. 2 years later, he finished second in the North America Strongest Man, beating a number of World's Strongest Man competitors. The next year, he appeared at the World's Strongest Man but failed to make the final. Less than a year later, he finished third at the 2009 Fortissimus, behind Poundstone and Savickas. He made his first podium at World's Strongest Man, finishing third behind Savickas and Pudzianowski. Before the season was over, he won 2 Strongman Super Series shows. At the 2010 World's Strongest Man, he tied with Zydrunas for first, but lost the title on countback. He came into 2011 stronger than ever, and became the first man to ever win the Arnold Strongman Classic and the World's Strongest Man in the same year. At the 2012 Arnold Strongman Classic, Brian tore his biceps during the first event. He still finished the competition in fourth place. The bicep surgery went well, but before the 2012 World's Strongest Man, Brian started losing feeling in his hand. This got to a point during the 2012 final that he wasn't even able to dress himself on his own. He still finished in fourth place. He was battling this nerve damage even during the 2013 season, but he managed to place second at the Arnolds and win the World's Strongest Man. In 2014, he got once again beaten by Zydrunas at the World's Strongest Man and the Arnolds. In 2015, Brian took another double, winning the World's Strongest Man and the Arnolds in the same year. Zydrunas beat him at the 2016 Arnold as well. However, Zydrunas was injured and didn't compete at the World's Strongest Man this year. Brian won his fourth title, beating Hafthor and Eddie. His third and final win at the Arnolds came in 2017. He finished third at both the 2017 and the 2018 World's Strongest Man and got beaten at the 2018 Arnold by Hafthor. The following year, Brian tore his hamstring during the elephant bar deadlift and finished in 8th place. He also only finished 6th at the World's Strongest Man. It was at this point where a lot of people started to count him out, and failing to qualify for the 2020 Arnold, as well as his 6th place at the 2020 World's Strongest Man only supported this. However, at the end of 2020, Brian invited 10 of the best guys in the world to compete at the first inaugural Show Classic, and he won the competition, beating a World's Strongest Man final level field. Against all odds, Brian finished second at the 2021 World's Strongest Man and second at the 2021 Show Classic. We are heading into 2022 season, and as Brian would say himself, he's
not done yet.